Hi guys, and welcome back to day 8 of Inktober. So today I wanted to do a piece that felt very cold and wintry because it actually snowed this morning and it was unexpected. I was so surprised. So it put me in the mood to do something really frigid looking. I actually really love doing very cold artwork, and I love finding cold artwork, and that just jumped me off into figuring this concept out and everything, which really worked well because it wasn't too complex to think through. It was just a girl with an umbrella and a coat, and the coat was fun because it's something that I don't normally draw. I think that's a trend that I'm noticing with what I'd like to do in Inktober and things that I have done so far is drawing things that I don't normally draw is actually really fun to focus on the details and figuring out how it actually functions when I'm designing it, and that gives it a new sense of interest and newness to it. Even though I'm doing a new piece with many of the same parameters each day, it really does add a little spark of interest to it. So I think that it really does help when I'm feeling like I don't have any ideas to just, even if it sounds really mundane, to focus on a detail like that I think I'd enjoy drawing. And this puffy coat was a big one that I love doing. I love doing this umbrella too. I actually busted out my French curves for this. I almost never use them. I mostly just freehand curves like that, but for this one I wanted it to be really crisp and clean, and I'm definitely still getting a hang of figuring out exactly where on the French curves I want to use them, but it was nice. It gave me a good effect, and I was happy with that, especially where I wanted the poles to be a consistent length, or space in between them, I should say. That really did help me to be able to just shift it over and get that. I actually messed it up on one of them where I accidentally curved it in. I slipped on my French curve, so I curved it in and it cuts into the umbrella itself. So I did do a little bit of inking to accentuate that shadow where it would be hitting the fabric of the next panel. That way it just looks a little bit more intentional and like it's overlapping. But for the other ones, it actually did really help. That's one of the hardest things to do, is when I need to do long, skinny shapes that are very close together, because then it's obviously an issue to make sure that I get the exact same arc when I'm using my hand. So having a French curve for stuff like that is really nice. So on this one, I had a little bit of a hiccup. It's not terrible at all, but I used a Copic marker to color in the handle of the umbrella, and I've used them before actually in the last piece, and I didn't have this issue then, but when I painted over it with water, which I was very liberal with putting water on top of that marker because I had assumed that it was pretty fast against the water, but it was not. It started bleeding a little bit of this like color. Actually, it was like these purples and blues that were leaching out of that black, and it looked really pretty, but it was not what I intended. So I will definitely be paying attention to that in the future. So when I used it in the piece before, I did not paint really over it at all. There's a little bit of overlap, but not a lot. And I think that really was the difference. Was this one, I just painted right on top of it. And the other one, I didn't have any need to paint over the top of most of it because it was such a large shape that I was painting around. So yeah, if it's something thin like this, I will definitely make sure that I use a medium that is absolutely waterproof. That way I can just paint right over it, and I'll just pay attention to that next time I reach for my Copic marker. So when I started working on the values for this, I needed to make sure that I was thinking through what values would be layered next to each other, since there are a lot of overlapping shapes. We have the first half of the umbrella that's in front of her, and then the character, and then we have the back of the umbrella. So I wanted to make sure that I didn't let things get lost or bleed into each other. So I already knew that her hair was going to be a medium to dark value of hair. And initially I was thinking about doing the umbrella just straight really dark, which would have been fine. I either needed to be lighter than her hair or darker. That way she wasn't blending in with it too much. But ultimately I actually ended up doing a pattern where it was darker, lighter, darker, lighter. And that was nice because it allowed me to do a lighter panel that was right above her hair, and then darker in the other areas so that it really made the lighter backdrop pop off of her. I did make that the backside of the umbrella, so basically the interior of it, I made that lighter so that it would really pop against her hair, which had a lot more of the silhouette next to it. So that was just something that I was trying to pay attention to, and I do always try to be aware of that, of how I'm layering the values. That way I can get the most out of what I'm using and to make sure that the focal point is still very clear and the different things that I want to be clear are still popping out. And I loved adding the little slightly supernatural details to this. I think that they just add a little bit more of a hint of a story, and it has more questions that need to be answered from the viewer's point of view. So I love adding details like that that can make someone think about what could be the story for this, because it does have hints that there is something going on. So I just did those floating rocks and I gave her those horns, and it just makes me feel a little bit more attached to this image and what's happening within it. And I'm already having issues with this pen. So I know that I was saying, oh, it's working great for me in ways that it hasn't before. But in this piece, I could not get it to write a straight line no matter what I did with it. I tried cleaning it off on another paper. I tried pushing harder. I tried pushing lighter. I tried different angles of the pen. So it's kind of infuriating because it feels like the pen itself is starting to wear out while there's still so much ink in it. So I don't know. Let me know if you guys have found solutions for that, or if you have the same situation or issues with that. I don't know if it's just the medium that I'm using it on top of is messing up the pen. I'm not sure, but I really want these pens to work longer because it's so infuriating when I can see that there's still product inside of it, but I'm really fighting with this pen that worked perfectly not that long ago. So I don't know. Let me know. Let me know if you have some solutions to save this pen for me. And that is it for day 8. I do post daily Inktober videos, so stay tuned tomorrow for another one. And I do have a link in the description to my art shop. That's a great way to support me. It really does mean a lot to me. And that is it for today, so I'll see you guys tomorrow.